In your association's journey to the future, there are some very real hazards along the way that act a lot like quicksand. These are the ill-advised decisions boards make that cause their association to get mired in a situation that gets worse day after day. At first, the decisions might not seem all that bad, but over time they will have devastating results. So, how do you spot these hazards and avoid them? Join us as management consultant Julie Adamen identifies the 7 most common types of reserves quicksand. See if you recognize any that are affecting your association. This could save your association time, money, and even lives. So, let me at this point in time turn you over to Julie's capable hands, and she'll talk you through identifying quicksand.
Oh, thanks, Robert. And thanks for having me again for us to do this presentation together. I always really enjoy it. So, hi, everybody. I'm Julie Adamen, and I want to reinforce the idea that leading an association to the future is a real challenge. I mean, if you're in the hot seat already, you know it is. And this idea of quicksand along the journey is very real. It must be based on the number of associations that we see, Robert and I and other professionals in the industry, unprepared for their own expenses, stuck in a decision-making process, or actually making foolish or wrong decisions about how to get to the future. In the next few minutes, I'll be naming these problems and helping you identify what might be getting your association stuck. These are the types of quicksand we see that trouble associations go through. So let's take a quick look at these. It is not collecting or collecting monies, nor preparing for these expenses. Next one down is hoarding reserves. Those are associations that just can't quite bring themselves to pay for things out of reserves that should be. They just don't like to see that balance go down. And the next one is the other end of that, depleting reserves. Well, we were short on our operating expenses, so we borrowed from reserves because we don't want to raise assessments. Very, very common situation. Next is minimizing reserve funding. Well, the study says we should be putting in X, but we're going to only put in about 50% of whatever that X is. Again, so we have more in our operating account, typically, so we don't have to raise assessments. And of course, the next favorite one of mine is apathy. Apathy on the board part, or apathy on homeowners' parts, or all of the above. Next, indecision. Indecision. Gosh, it's so hard to make a decision. It's, dealing with the reserve account and the amount of monies in the reserve account are oftentimes the most money that anyone will in their lives will have to make a decision over. Hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. And it's not your money, it's on behalf of others. So that can really get people in that analysis paralysis kind of thing. And then lastly, fixating on the percent funded. So these are the issues, these are the types of quicksand that we get stuck in. Now, the most common form of quicksand is simply not collecting reserves. These associations are stuck at the very beginning, at the starting line, if you will. Board members failing to lead and provide the budget to care for the association, or listening to homeowners who, quote, want minimized assessments. Remember that these are the same homeowners who signed on when they bought into your association. They signed on to join the association and be an equal partner in all of its costs. So failing to collect reserves represents kind of a double failure where the board is not doing its job to set the budget and collect necessary funds, and the homeowners themselves are not doing their job of providing the funds the association needs to survive. Remember, it is not the board's job to do the bidding of the homeowners. The homeowners don't have the legal responsibility or the fiduciary duty to lead the association. The board does. And homeowners just have, they do have, the legal responsibility to pay their fair share of the association's budgeted assessments, in which are reserves. And another problem we see associations focusing on is having a comfortable amount of cash in reserves that they focus on doing all they can to hold on to that cash with both hands if necessary. And often that amount of cash isn't linked to the needs of the property defined in the reserve study. The problem here is that reserves are collected for one purpose, to be spent. Collecting reserves is not the goal. Caring for the property over a long period of time is the goal. Now, a similar mindset mistake is seeing costs go up and feeling scarcity in the operating budget. meaning that, oh gosh, the last few years, inflation has been very, very high and people don't really want to pay more in assessments. So we might not fund reserves like we should. So this is another double failure because the operating budget still doesn't have the money it needs. And now the reserve fund doesn't have the money it needs for the roof and the asphalt and the elevator, the pool repair, and all those other reserve projects that need to get done. And then on down to minimizing reserve funding. It's an interesting one, and we see it way, way too often, where boards are nervous about collecting and sitting on a significant pile of cash. Again, it's difficult for some people. They think that if they spend it, it could be misused, stolen, or not really sure how to keep it safe. What with maybe they had grown up with bank failures and that type of thing, and with the ups and downs of the stock market. Things we go through, I think it's a human condition. Everyone has that to some degree or another. Now, next we have apathy. Apathy is a very thick and sticky form of quicksand. That means the board is acting like it just doesn't care. Apathy is more of a leadership problem than a reserve problem. It's inaction for inaction's sake. It's the no decision is a decision. How about that? It means the board doesn't appreciate that things are deteriorating every month or simply doesn't want to face it, and they are gradually falling farther and farther behind on having enough money to care for the property. Boards and managers can be in that too, stuck in apathy quicksand, very thick quicksand, think the association will last forever or it'll happen on someone else's watch. And it's been just fine. There's no need to fix things. And again, someone in the future, it can happen to them. You can let those people be the last ones playing musical chairs when the last chair is taken out. You don't want that to be you. You want it someone else. It's not right. It's simply, seriously, a lack of taking responsibility for the deterioration that's occurring during your watch as board members at the time you are leading the association. So all the while, the association suffers additional deterioration and decline. The association deteriorates as fast as our bodies deteriorate. And it's a depressing thing to think of, but it's true.
Yeah, it's real.
It's real. I'm living it. I'm living it daily. Next, indecision. Indecision, like no decision is a decision. So indecision looks like apathy from the outside, but decision means the board is actually aware of the problem, but is stuck again in that analysis paralysis. Not really sure what to do to move forward correctly, afraid of getting it wrong, often delaying decisions to a later time when they think they'll magically have more information because their pen has turned into a wand. So all of a sudden it's magic. A day that never comes, by the way, ever. Indecision will often happen when you're trying to wring answers from an old, think 5 or 10 or even older reserve study, or one prepared in-house as opposed to by a profession. Reserve decisions are significant enough that you should have an update prepared by a credentialed professional. Absolutely no doubt. I would recommend you do not do them on your own. On a basis of a site inspection, I mean by a qualified person, and at least every 3rd year. So every 3 years is perfect for that. If you have a current credible reserve study now and have a question, ask your reserve study provider. They'll definitely give you the answer. It's not like, and I heard Robert say this previously in a webinar, that it's, the reserve study professional is kind of like if you have a community manager, it's kind of like your manager. It's not like your lawyer. They're available at one price. They're not charging you extra to answer a question, unlike your attorney. So use those professionals. I encourage you to do so. Use your professionals.
Julie, you're stealing my thunder there a little bit, but
Sorry.
You're absolutely right. In the reserve study field, we get paid for a reserve study, and an extra 15 minutes here or there to answer questions. That is beauty. That really helps the client get from, gee, what do I do with this, to now I understand, or now I can pitch it to the rest of the board. Now I can pitch it to the homeowner. So don't fear that. It's just part of getting the reserve study into your hands. And let me illustrate. I just want to go through a couple of slides here to show you that there are good answers to these kinds of questions. If you're ever unsure about what to spend reserves on or what they were collected for, there's a National Reserve Study Standards 3-part test. And that shows very clearly what projects should be funded through reserves and helps you understand kind of the borders on what we're trying to accomplish here. Appropriate reserve projects are common area maintenance obligations that can be reasonably anticipated and that are above a cost level that's beyond what you want to absorb into the operating budget. So again, if you're ever unsure, just reach out to your reserve study provider. Ask about the pool pump. ask about an irrigation time clock. You're not expected to have all the answers yourself, so rely on your experts. And another thing is this problem, Julie, you mentioned it earlier, fixating on a current or a certain percent funded. You want a particular number. It's going to make you happy. And that's a type of quicksand because you're focusing on anything other than taking good care of the property. And we see boards stuck focusing on pushing hard, not spending money, trying to achieve a certain percent funded. That's nice, but it's wrong. Your goal is to provide for the needs of the property, which is both collecting the right amount of money and spending the right amount of money. There are days or years when you're going to be spending a lot more money from reserves than you're taking in. That's just part of the plan. So percent funded is a nice benchmark to let you know how well prepared your association is, but it's not a goal in itself. So don't let trying to achieve a specific reserves percent funded number get in the way of accomplishing projects that need to get done. Remember that you're going towards the Emerald City. You're going towards something good. And that something good means you're collecting the right amount of money and spending the right amount of money.
And as much as we have described the quicksand to avoid, we do want to emphasize the goal to strive for. What does success look like? Success looks like having sufficient cash to perform your major repair and replacement projects on time, which is the board's responsibility. It's a part of your fiduciary duty as a trustee. In the process, you minimize expensive deferred maintenance, you avoid unfair special assessments, and you maximize property values. I think that's a home run there. That's about all good things, right?
That's a home run.
It is a home run.
At Association Reserves, we make the present less stressful and the future more secure. If you want to join us in this mission, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave us a comment down below on what you'd like to see us address in a future video. Let's plan for your best future.